All right, I think we're down to 8 days now till we depart from the Appalachian Trail, and I wanted to try and get at least a couple more videos up. I said I'd speak about some of the gear I'm taking and why I've decided to take it. First thing I wanted to talk about really was my water filter choice. Out on the Appalachian Trail, plenty of water sources, creeks, rivers that you can find. There's a few water points that you can actually fill directly up on, but everywhere you should on the trail definitely be trying to purify water. A couple ways to do that. One is obviously with a water filter source. Any of the main brands out there, Katadyn, and personally I'm using MSR. They'll all do this. The other way, of course, is to use iodine tablets, water purification, which I'm bringing some of these along just in case the filter breaks. If the water just is a little iffy and I'm not real trustworthy of it, I can always dump a couple of little purification tablets in. I lighten my load by dumping them out of the bottle. Obviously don't need a big glass bottle out there, a little zippy bag, put the cotton back in with it, it's just fine. I'm taking an MSR water purifier for three main reasons. First reason is I already owned it. So it was an item I didn't have to buy. Now a lot of people out there are using micro straws, other different filters, ones that are extremely lightweight. The MSR Micro Works, which is the one I'm actually taking right here, I previously owned it. There was no reason to buy a new one. They run about $89, $90. It weighs in right at 1 pound. So that's pretty heavy for out there trying to go lightweight on the trail. But again, I already owned it, so it was money I didn't have to spend on a water purification source. I could go use that money somewhere else on something else I didn't have. The second reason I'm using this water purification source is it's made by MSR, Mountain Science Research. I've got quite a bit of gear from them. Love their products. I have never had a single issue with any of their stuff, and the few issues that I have had, I've been able to get customer service on the phone or send it back for warranties. So they make outstanding, great gear. And no, I'm not getting paid by them to say this, but it is wonderful gear. And as proof, this particular water filter right here, you can see it's extremely beat up. The hose is discolored. It's not the same color as this Micro Mini Works, but this MSR water pump in the original bag here, barely got the label inside. I ended up getting this in 1999. And my wife and I, this is the pump that we actually use when we go camping all the time. If we're just going on a trail hike somewhere, we're still using this. I've replaced the filter in it once since I've had it. I can't tell you how much water we've purified through it, whether filling up even a 5-gallon water jug, believe it or not, that we had taken up to a base camp just to have water on hand for showering and cooking. But we've pumped a lot of water through this pump, and other than replacing an O-ring in it as well as the filter, it's still running strong. Now the one I am taking is the Micro Mini Works. Micro Mini Works, when you purchase it, it comes with the storage bag, your instructions, it comes with your filter cleaner, which is nothing more than a green Brillo pad, and it comes with a spare parts kit. So if you do have any little parts that go down, plus some lubricant for your pump, some extra O-rings, and an extra filter for your water intake. Pretty simple. It wraps up, shove your hose in. The system actually works very easily. Hose unwinds. You have a float, so you can adjust your depth. If you need to get your intake below, let's say there's a little bit of slime on the surface and you want to get it a little bit deeper, obviously adjust that. Or if it's extremely shallow and you want to get, and you don't want it sitting on, but you don't want it sitting on the bottom, go ahead and push it all the way down and keep it float. It's also got a sponge filter in there to help keep larger particulates out from getting sucked up in the hose and possibly jamming up your hose or getting into the filter. Now the third reason that I'm taking the MSR, and the reason I'm using it, is I'm extremely comfortable with MSRs. Having used this one since 1999, I'm comfortable with the system. I know if it starts acting up, if it starts doing something, I probably know what the issue is. It's an O-ring, the filter needs cleaning. So that'll be the third reason why I'm taking it. I like MSR, they did a couple of things with this. I'm a big fan of Nalgene bottles. Big thing with Nalgene, I like it because if I needed to scoop water out fast, throw it on fire. It's got a nice wide mouth. They're not exactly the lightest bottles out there, but they're extremely tough. I've got quite a few. I've got a few that I've probably had since '99. They're just a really good bottle. It's got the nice measurement on the side. But the other really cool thing MSR did was, instead of trying to balance a water filter and your water bottle and holding it up, you can actually screw the water bottle directly onto the bottle. So you've got your line in the water, and you just pump away. All right, getting your water in there, you're not having to worry too much about, oh God, I gotta make sure it's on there. Now, if you have a different size water bottle, it won't screw on like this one will. You can, and I've done this in the past, is actually cut a little bit of this hose off, plugged it right on there, onto the bottom feed where the water comes out, and you can run that line in. Now again, now you're trying to kind of balance, make sure it goes into that water source, but you can actually use this with other water bottles. It doesn't have to be an Nalgene. Now my water sources for the trail is going to be a Nalgene bottle, and I'm also using this 2-liter drum dairy bag by MSR. And this is primarily going to be for my cooking. I'm not using it as a hydration bag. I'm using this more for cooking, having water up at my campsite. Some of the water sources are a little bit of ways away from some of the prescribed campsites, and I don't want to have to keep running back down, filling this up, coming back up, cooking. Oh, got to get some more water in the morning, fill up. Okay, now I'm done cooking in the morning. Now I got to fill up for the trail. So instead, I'm just going to take this 2-liter drum dairy bag. You can actually turn this into a CamelBak. They've done a pretty good job with it. You can hang it in your bag how you need to. You can actually flip the lid, and there's how you can get your water out, or you can just pour it directly out. You can remove this lid, and they have an attachment that turns it into a water bladder system for hydration. You run the hose through, just like CamelBak and Osprey and some of the other brands that are out there. So you can replace that, but as of right now, I'm just using it as a water bag. And again, MSR product for me to purify. I can just screw it right onto the bag. And now I can pump away, get my water directly into my bag. Now, a couple of things about the pump. It removes 99.999% bacteria, 99.9% protozoas, so it does get it out there pretty good. The filter is a carbon ceramic filter. It's good for about 2,000 liters. So you can pump this 2,000 liters. And this is about what the filter looks like. And this is almost brand new. I did have to pump a little bit of water through it, but you can see it. And how do you test when you need to get a new filter? Well, they give you this little tool that's on the bottom, and you put it on. And if this fits around your filter, it's time to get a new one. As you can see, it will not go on my filter. Okay, so I obviously don't need a new filter. All right, you can do about 1 liter a minute pumping to get water. And for me, that comes into, we actually tested this up in the kitchen a couple of times, and it comes out to about 63 pumps to fill 1 liter, which would be 1 Nalgene bottle. So about 63 pumps, and I've got it filled up. Another little benefit to this versus some of the squeeze systems that are out there, and again, I've never used the squeeze systems. I've used Katadyn pumps, and I've used MSR, and I've stuck with MSR. I know it works, I like it, I'm comfortable with it, but out there hiking on trail, especially for long distance, you're not getting a lot of upper body work unless you're going to stop, do push-ups, try and find a branch to do pull-ups on, using your hiking poles, get your arms moving, but you do get a little bit of exercise from pumping this. So if I'm having to pump my 2-liter bottle, I can do 60 pumps on one arm, 60 pumps on another arm. There's not a lot of resistance, but it is something just to kind of get your upper body moving just a little bit. It's not an actual workout, but it's something. Now, what we're going to do, now that we've discussed why I like this pump, is we're going to demonstrate. Right? And you can see actually on the 2 different floats here how much they've changed. This is more of a sponge, where this is more of a closed cell foam going on this float. Definitely see a size difference. One's a little bit taller. Right? I don't know how much this one weighs. They don't make it anymore, so it's hard to find any information on it online. But give you a little bit of demonstration. this is a little bit of charcoal, some burned brush from a pile, a little bit of dirt from the backyard. Right? And this is just normal water tapped right out of ours that we've got. And I'm going to try, this is about the only other bottle Nalgene that I have that's close in color to give you an idea, although it's a little bit more beat up. So I'm going to screw this bottle on. You can see that's actually some pretty nasty water. All right, just mixed it up a little bit just to give you an idea. And I'm using my older pump here. Below the water a little bit. Some of those floaties that are on top from the sticks. And then I'm just going to start pumping. Now it takes a little bit, but you can see through this hose already I'm starting to pull some water. And what you're doing is building up some pressure. And though we don't have any water coming out yet, it's building up, and we should start having some water trickling down here shortly. Of course, we're losing a little bit of pressure. I'm going to adjust this a little bit so we get a little more pressure in there. And now it's starting to go into there. So it's starting to work through that ceramic carbon filter we showed you. And you're starting to get a little bit of water in there. I'm going to do this about halfway so you can start see the difference in the colored water. You can see it fills up this little chamber. Pulling water in there. These O-rings probably need to be replaced a little bit, but you can see the dirty water that fills up the chamber. And then you actually force that water down into this carbon filter here. And I've got a little bit of a leak on this pump. Is just a little bit crimped, so I'm not getting, like I said, you can see the discoloration before we ever began in this hose. It's been around for a minute. And I had just cleaned this filter before we started this. As soon as we're done, I'll pull it out and I'll show you about how dirty the filter is, how easy it is to clean it. Definitely taking some time here. A little bit more workout on my older one than I do get on my newer one. You can see this water is definitely cleaner, and this one, because we're having a little bit of an O-ring issue with it right now. kind of bragging about it, and then it does this to me. We'll go ahead and show you if the micro works. See, it's definitely getting a little bit more flow. We're getting more air pressure from the pumps. You can actually hear it going in now. Other filters leaking out here. Kind of see the water that is leaking out is definitely cleaner. And you'll get a little bit of pressure from doing this. I mean, it's not hard, but you do have to grip it a little bit, give it a little bit of pressure. One of the ways to know that your filter is getting pretty dirty and it's time to clean it is if it really starts to tighten up and you're really having to crank down on it to get it to run water. Okay, so what I want to do here is give you an idea of how that water looked before we started purifying it, what it looks now, and then what just some regular tap water. Obviously the bottles, the colors is going to differentiate a little bit, but the bottles are pretty close to the same as far as coloring, and it gives you an idea. So that's my water purification pump. That's how it works. Now I'm going to obviously go fix this one a little bit. Looks like the one of the O-rings is out of place. That's what I'm guessing. It just wasn't building up a lot of pressure. Again, I fixed it. It's been a long time. This poor pump, I love it, and we'll keep using it as long as it will allow us to keep using it, and I can keep finding little parts, O-rings, if I need it as we go. But that's the pump I'm using. MSR, great products. I already owned it. No reason to buy another pump, even if they're $40. That's $40 that I could use a Sawyer squeeze bottle pump. I know a lot of people are out there. A lot of people like them. I've never used one. I've got MSR. I already owned it, and I'm comfortable with the pump. I know how it works. I know what the outcome's going to be when I use it. So, and again, if the water's just a little bit questionable, even if you have a water filter, I highly recommend bring some iodine tablets just in case. It does change the taste a little bit, so I always bring these just in case because they will kill some viruses. And even if after I purified it, if I'm a little questionable about the water source, you want to go ahead and throw one in. There's no reason to ruin any type of trip, especially one like this where I'm going to be out there where I'm going to have to lay up for 3 or 4 days because I'm vomiting or I've got massive diarrhea just because my water source was contaminated and I got lazy and didn't decide to purify it. Okay. All right, thank you. Next video, hopefully we're going to get up, is I'm going to discuss my stove, which, big surprise, it's an MSR stove, and discuss why I'm bringing that, show you how it works, and I think we're just about done with some of the videos we're going to put up. The last one I'm probably going to cover is going to be my first aid kit. I want to go over it because those people, my friends, that most of us carry our first aid kit would cover this entire table. What we normally go to work with, it will barely fit. The stuff I'm having to bring barely fits in this bag. So I want to make sure I cover that so as the guys are wanting to go out there, why we chose some of those items and what we're using them for. So thanks for following. Really appreciate it. If you got any questions or comments about the pump, please let me know or comment on the page. Thank you.